In this episode, we're going shopping for heat press.
All right, we're back and we're talking about how to select the best heat press for you. So we all kind of know what we're looking for when we're shopping for clothes or a car, and you maybe want those heated seats or
Skinny jeans.
Skinny jeans,
Yep.
Exactly. You know what's on trend when you're at the mall shopping for clothes. But when it comes to heat presses, especially for a novice, someone just getting into the industry, what features do you need to look for?
Right, yeah, so it's kind of intuitive. Some of those things are, at least you've had enough marketers tell you what you need when you go shopping for clothes or cars, but a heat press is like a different kind of item. For especially those getting started in the business, what are you looking for? What does it need to do? What features are really important? And so what you're looking for is really performance related. So I would start there with performance, not so much cosmetics. So don't just look at the one that looks best, but you want to find something that's going to generate accurate pressure and accurate temperature and have consistent performance over the lifetime of that press. And so what you're looking for really, most presses on the market can measure time. That's pretty easy. Even if your machine doesn't, you can whip out an egg timer, or you can learn to count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pretty good. But measuring temperature accurately at the surface, maintaining that temperature in repeated applications is important, and then generating enough pressure to get proper adhesion with the different transfer types that are available to you. So those are the two things I look for in features. How does it generate pressure? And then how does it regulate heat? So those are sort of like the core competency base level things it has to do. And then above that, it sort of goes to your business format and what your needs are and how you're going to be using it depending on what type of model you need.
So when you're looking into the heat press market, can you give us a general overview of the different options that are available?
Yeah, sure. So I'll be real frank about the landscape of the heat press market. So there are very, very cheap models available to you. There are some manufacturers who have been servicing our industry for a very long time. We've partnered with Hicks, who has been doing this for 40, 50 years, been making equipment in Pittsburgh, Kansas. But there has been an influx of import machines that have flooded the market, and they're really facilitated by this race to the bottom, trying to offer the cheapest available press at the lowest price online, putting it on eBay. So you can go to any marketplace online, you can find a cheap heat press. So that's a reality, and that's a part of the market. But I would caution people before they would just shop on price to take a step back and look at what they're going to be using this machine for. It's critical to your manufacturing process, to your ability to deliver garments, which is critical to your revenue stream for your business. And so what you can afford is to have a failure of a product in the field, what that would do to the reputation of your business, what that would do to your ability to, especially those who are servicing small communities. You can't afford to not deliver, because you probably get a lot of business through word of mouth. You probably get a lot of business repeat from servicing this customer as well. And a lot of it's probably time sensitive, right? The nature of the decorated apparel business is nobody plans ahead, right? Everybody needs something last minute. Even though this event has been on the calendar for a year, everybody knows when Little League starts, yet we don't know the kids' sizes and their numbers until a week before we're ready to start playing. And so that time-sensitive nature of the business means that you need to have a reliable piece of equipment. And so I would caution those who are looking to just dive into the cheapest part of the market. So that's the sort of like the emergence of the cheap imports, which we would caution you against. And then there's a wide variety of American-made equipment. There are several manufacturers in the marketplace who compete, and we happen to partner with Hicks, who makes all our equipment right in Pittsburgh, Kansas.
Wonderful. So when we talk about, we throw around words like swingway and clamshell and air compressor thing. What does all that really mean?
Yeah, so there's a lot of jargon in our business, and
right.
You say, I'm looking for a heat press, and you go, do you want a swinger or do you want a clamshell? And they're like, are we getting seafood? I don't know what's going on. That's an awkward question. So I'll break it down pretty simply. So a clamshell is like an alligator's mouth, right? So it opens up and it closes. Typically manual machines are clamshell models, and that clamshell just refers to the mechanism, an opening and closing like an alligator's mouth. And so that's how the upper platen gives you clearance from the lower platen. So you load onto the lower platen. That's what gives you that clearance to be able to load your garment, load your transfer, close it down, and press it. And so the pressure is generated in a clamshell motion. A swing away, or the swing man from Hicks, it gives you clearance by swinging away. So that upper platen, the heating element, will actually swing or rotate beyond actually 90 degrees. It'll swing out of the way and give you clearance over that lower platen.
So you have unlimited space.
Yeah, there's no heat above your hands. So one advantage there is that the heat is cleared out. It does take more counter space. So you need more space to operate that machine. But if you're operating it all day long, and if you're doing a lot of layout work, where you're laying out multiple transfers on multiple placements on a garment, or you're laying out like letters for names and numbers, where you're doing a lot of layout work, and you don't want to be working underneath the heat, that's a nice feature, is to have that swing away there.
Now, for the swing away, is there a difference in the amount of effort it takes for the user to shut it?
Well, that varies from machine to machine. And so the mechanical linkage, the way the machine is designed, the geometry between the parts. I wasn't a fan of physics. I avoided it like the plague in college. But what I do know about it is that the geometry, the relationship between the linkage components, greatly impacts the ability for it to generate pressure at the surface and the ease of operation. So 10 pounds of force for the operator might actually generate 10, 50, 100 times that at the surface of that platen, depending on how the linkage is set up. Generally speaking, swing-away models do have an easier over-the-center linkage that allows you to close it easier, but you do have two motions. So you're swinging the machine away, and so you sort of have that repetitive motion. If you have like an arm issue or shoulder issues, like I have a bad shoulder, swinging that away all the time isn't actually an ideal motion for me, because I don't like getting my arm extended. But if you are just doing a clamshell, right, my left arm's good, so I'll go on a clamshell all day long and it's one motion. And for me, the factor isn't the amount of force it takes to close it. I'm a bigger guy, so it's not that big of a deal. If you're worried about like the fatigue of that, you might want to consider a swing away, because it does have a little bit of ease in closing it. And if you're really concerned about operator fatigue, the one thing you mentioned when we first started talking was the air compressed machines, or the automatic machines. And so you'll hear these words used interchangeably, automatic or pneumatic. And all that means is the machine generates its pressure via compressed air. So you hook that machine up to a compressor, and instead of you forcing it closed with your strength and your might, you hit a couple of buttons where they're located on that machine, and those two buttons activate the compressed air from your compressor, and that generates the pressure on your application. That's a real professional grade machine. If you're going to be doing a lots of application, if somebody's going to be using a machine all day, every day, like if you're scheduling a shift for this, and like somebody's job is to press shirts for an 8-hour shift, get them a pneumatic machine. You're going to spend more money up front. You have to have a compressor that runs along with it. But in the long run, operator fatigue, the ability to operate efficiently, you get the ROI on that, because the operators are able to move faster. They're not going to be more down. They don't slow down over the course of the shift because the compressor is generating the pressure for them. Now, most air compressed models are actually swing-aways. So most of them have a swing-away on the market. The Hicks N880 is actually unique in that it's a clamshell model, but it uses compressed air. And so you get the advantage of the efficiency of clamshell. So you're not doing the two-motion swing-away. It's one motion closed, and then the pressure is generated. Yeah, and it takes up less counter space. So you're not using your whole counter. So a lot of shop owners who have a heat press in a retail location that want an automatic machine put an N80 in that space. So you see a lot of those in places where they have a heat press in a retail location. And a lot of single owner operators, they might man a storefront and then have a place inside that storefront where they can press shirts during the day when there's not traffic from customers, and that takes up less counter space, less retail space to have that machine in that space.
All right, so I heard you talk a little bit about ROI when you were talking about the pneumatic machines. So is there a way to kind of effectively gauge the return on investment you get when you invest in the heat press?
Right. So I'll give you the quick answer, sort of the cheating answer back on the napkin math, and then we'll look at it maybe the way a business owner should look at it. So first, we just say, how many t-shirts do you have to sell if you're starting out to pay for your machine? right? And so let's just do some simple math. Our one color heat transfers, $20 setup, 15 cents a piece. You can do 100 full fronts for $37. Right? So let's say you sell those shirts for, I don't know, $10, right? $37 there. You got $250 in your t-shirts. So let's, right around $300. You get $700 of profit from 100 shirts. So to pay off a base level, entry level manual machine, $1,000, $1,200, you need to sell between 90 to 150 t-shirts at a pretty reasonable price at retail to pay off that machine. Now, that's not how you actually do that math, because
that's how I would do that.
Okay, fair enough. And so a lot of people look at the entry-level machine, that's what I can afford right now. What I would encourage them to consider is, think about the efficiency over time. You're going to be standing in front of that machine. So every second you save, every minute you save in operation, every efficiency that you gain in operation, you're going to make back over the life of owning that machine. And so a few $100s on the front end in savings might actually cost you thousands of dollars over the life of using that machine. So that's an entry-level machine. You go up to a swing away model, and now you're looking at 200, 300 t-shirts to pay for that, and then like a big boy like an N880 automatic, you sell 400 t-shirts, 450 t-shirts, you pay for that in a compressor. All right, so if you apply all your profit to that, now really how you should do the ROI, you should take a period of time, you should take a projection of how many t-shirts you sell, and take a percentage of your t-shirt proceeds, not all of your gross margin, because you got to pay the electric, you want to feed yourself, you need a room to sleep in, that kind of stuff. There are other bills to pay, and so you project that out over time and say, all right, if I'm going to apply 50 cents per shirt, or maybe 10 cents per shirt, how many shirts do I need to sell over a 3, 6, 8 month period to pay off that machine? But you're talking about an investment of $1,000, $1,200, $2,500, $3,000 on the top end. That's not a huge investment to see the ROI on very quickly when you're talking about the margin you have in selling t-shirts.
And especially compared to some other equipment that you need to decorate apparel.
Yeah. I mean, it's embroidery equipment, screen printing equipment. You're not even touching that cost. And so what I would say is, don't be so quick to race to the bottom on the lowest quality machine, because you're going to end up paying for that over time.
When you opt for a cheaper heat press, one of these ones that's several $100s less, it's flooding the market, what are you sacrificing? What's the first thing they're getting rid of?
Yeah, so a couple things. They're trying to strip costs out of it, so they're trying to strip material out of it. So, and also they're probably working around patent issues, so they're trying to avoid patents that other heat press manufacturers have. So they might adjust the way the linkage is constructed, so the geometry between the moving parts that close the press, that generate the pressure, in order to avoid a patent infringement. But when they're doing that, they're probably not putting in the engineering time to make sure that they're generating adequate pressure. Right? There's a reason there's a patent on that part, because it's designed to generate pressure. And so dancing around that can often result in a machine that's, it may feel really hard to close, but it actually doesn't generate that much pressure at the surface, because it actually operates at a mechanical disadvantage, not an advantage. The second thing that I would say is the heating element. It's the most critical part of the machine. It's the heart of the machine. The upper platen, where the heat comes from, they'll oftentimes, a cheaper import model will sacrifice the quality of the aluminum to make that heating element cheaper. But that aluminum that has inside of it has the heating element wound through that aluminum. And that heats up and it cools down. It goes from room temperature to 375 to 400 degrees, back down. It's fluctuating in temperature all the time and adjusting in size. And so you want to maintain a perfect surface. You don't want that to warp in any way. So any warping or cupping in that platen that can occur because you use cheap aluminum, you're trying to cut down on costs, and maybe you haven't spaced the heating elements the same inside that press. It'll adjust in size, and then you'll get cupping or warping. And so what happens is you have an area of your press that doesn't generate pressure. So it's got a warped spot or a high spot in it. And so you have an area in the design, you're like, wait, why is that part not sticking right there? And you go, there's something wrong with this transfer, it won't stick in that spot. Well, I'd say flip the transfer around and press it again and find that spot, a different part of the design, right? So that warping and cupping is definitely a concern. The other concern is it can warp so bad that the element itself inside the platen will break. Right? And so then you're in trouble, right? Because now you have a cold spot in your machine, or you have an element that won't heat up at all because it broke the circuit, and your heating element now breaks because of the expansion and contraction of the aluminum around it. So as it adjusts in size, it forces that heating element to become more and more brittle. And so investing in the right raw materials, so you're paying for a good aluminum blend to cast your heating element in when you're paying for a better quality machine.
Okay. And sometimes, can't they just explode?
I have no documented cases of explosion. I have plenty of documented cases of electrical shorts where the circuitry won't work, or something grounds out, and or just where an element breaks, and then you're not generating enough heat to be able to do the job that you have in front of you. And the downside of that is you save money on a heat press, and now you have a big job where you're going to make money, and you're not going to deliver it. And you're going to credit your customer to try to keep them, or you're going to do something, something crazy to try to get another heat press in. It's going to end up costing you more in the long run than if you just invested in a quality piece of equipment.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's plot a scenario here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you walk into a shop,
Yeah.
any store,
Yeah.
and they want to buy a machine. What are the first things you're looking for when you advise them on what to buy?
Yeah. Tell me about your business and what you decorate. Right. So, and if there's we're in team uniforms. We do names and numbers. We do a lot of. I say you're looking at swingmans. You're looking at a swing away model because you're laying out names and numbers. You're laying out those letters, and you want the clearance to be able to operate. It gives you great visibility. There's a lot of alignment with jerseys, and having that clearance is where I steer you. If you say, listen, we do events, right? That's my business. I show up at events, I show up at tournaments. You want to look at something lightweight. You want to look at maybe a clamshell model that's easily portable. 2 people can carry it, lift it in and out of the back of a SUV or pickup truck or something like that to transport it. And I'd also say look into one of the portable stands. Look at the heat transfer stand that's available with the Hicks models. So you can mount that on the stand, you can roll it, and then you're not dedicating counter space or table space at your event to that. You can roll it where you need to use it, set the locks on the casters at the bottom, set that up, plug it in, and then you can set up your table to store your shirts or however you have your display built around that. So what's your business format? What do you need to do? Then you just say, listen, we're a manufacturer. Maybe you're a screen printer, right? I got 5 automatics over here. I got an embroidery department, and then we have a heat application department. And you're scheduling people to operate a machine all day long. You're going to have enough application work to where they're pressing for 1 shift a day at least, or maybe a couple shifts a day where they're doing application work. You want to look at automatic equipment in that scenario. So invest in get the compressed air set up. You probably already have it for your screen printing equipment. So get the compressed air set up ready. Get automatic equipment and give those operators the ability to operate efficiently throughout the day, so that they can really fly through their application work.
Okay, perfect. So now that we're on the subject of that, of apparel decorators that are using different kinds of equipment.
Yeah.
Say I'm a screen printer. Do I need a heat press?
Yeah. So that's an interesting question because frankly there's a perception amongst some screen printers that transfer people are not screen printers, and I would argue that pridefully we probably make more screens every day than you make, and we're a screen printer too. We just happen to screen print on paper. And so we're all in the same family. We're the same team, right? We're screen printers. And there's absolutely a case for a screen printer to use heat application equipment. One, you have an automatic that has all those heads. And actually, most of your work is one color. And so to think of efficiently servicing that work, sometimes you don't want to tie up equipment to jobs that maybe you're not good at printing or you don't print efficiently. So our price on one color just sort of makes it, sometimes the economics work out where heat press that instead of putting that on a machine. Full color process, and some screen printers have manual machines, or maybe even those who have automatics, which are good at full color process, right? It takes a little while to learn that. We're really good at it, so don't waste your time. Send it to us. We'll print it, send it back to you. And then they're substrates, they're products that you have to decorate. They're just difficult to screen print. Nylon jackets, will slide around all over the place, nylon tote bags. And so you get smearing when you try to screen print those. You're always worried about flashing and then that nylon shrinking a little bit. Items that have shrinkage is also a challenge. So you flash it, it shrinks, now you have a registration problem. So you solve that by just pressing transfer one time on it. And there are substrates that are heat sensitive that can't stand up to the flash. There are all kinds of scenarios, mesh jerseys, double-sided mesh that slides around, and maybe you don't have the hold downs for your screen printing operation. Or all kinds of applications where it does make sense to look at a heat transfer to complement your screen printing business. And then even the stuff that you screen print, there are techniques like heat tapping where you can come back and you press it, you heat tap it to try to change the hand of your screen printed product. Adding foils and different embellishments after the fact. So there's an emergence of demand for mixed media. So if you're a screen printer and you want to, add rhinestones to a design, you want to add foil to a design, you want to add some type of extra embellishment like, appliques to ride along with a screen printed look to provide that rich mixed media finish. You need a heat press to be able to do that. And so I would say it absolutely makes sense to fit into that business model.
So, and also for instance, there's always that 5K charity run or something where 30 people trickle in last minute and you don't want to set up your screens to do 30 shirts.
Right. So, great business case, glad you brought it up. If you have a job that you're going to get a reorder, you're just not sure when or how big it's going to be, transfers are great for that. Like let's say you're supplying staff shirts to a restaurant, let's say you're doing something for a school, where there's a big sign up and that not everybody signs up on time and there's always those stragglers who are going to come in and go, I need 30 more. Print transfers, budget in to order more transfers. So when you get them from us, maybe the job's for 100, maybe you order 120 from us. At 15 cents a piece after you pick the setup on one color, it's a no-brainer. So you have those extras, and then your customer comes and goes, hey, I need 5 more. No problem. You got it. You press it. You're not setting back up to reprint that.
And you're adding to your reputation with that customer, and they'll be back.
Yeah. What amazing service. I know I should have got these, but could you please? Oh yeah, no problem. Here you go. Right? They might walk out that day with it, or you order your shirts in from your supplier and press them. They have it the next day or 2 days later. That's amazing service.